It's actually funny because both of these teams actually carry 5 physical attackers. There's only one special attacker on both. Yeah, going to be the Golden Go and Iron Bundle. We'll see if that's going to be an impact in the match, but we're going to get into it with Justin Tang on the top, with Landis Fair and Rillaboom coming out versus the Roaring Moon and the Ogre Pawn for Grant.
So this is an interesting lead because with the Intimidate now, we don't know for sure what booster energy the Roaring Moon would have been, but I can tell you that after the Intimidate, it will always be the speed booster. So if this was an attack boosting Roaring Moon, it won't be able to boost its attack here, as we do see the booster energy activate here, and we do see the speed booster, which, I mean, isn't awful. You can knock off either Pokemon here if you want. This is okay. So basically, Grant's considering a play that I like a lot, which is protecting with both of your Pokemon. I personally like this a lot. I feel like it allows you to scout out things. You can scout for Terras. It's not super likely that Justin switches here, though he could, of course, if he wants to make a prediction. So, yeah, we'll have to see here. It is a switch. Good, nice play from Justin. We see high-level play here as Lander switches out, resets the Intimidate, and yeah, Iron Hands switching in. The combination of Iron Hands and Intimidate is just so powerful.
Yeah, especially with the pivots. Like, you had the U-turn option from both. Let's see if Justin went on the offense or if it was a self U-turn potentially. I would love to see a self U-turn in Iron Hands potentially, but I don't know. Let's see. Justin shaking his head. Fake out just coming out, though. It's going to be into the Roaring Moon. So
interesting.
Nothing going to really happen this turn other than Iron Hands getting a free switch and offering now another fake out support, but this time you can't double protect if you're Grant.
Oh, interesting. You have Chen Pao and Urshifu in the back. I mean, you do have Tailwind support, so that is an option, but yeah, your team looks kind of... To me, it looks kind of vulnerable here. I feel like Justin's really in the driver's seat. Here, this would be such a nice time to have Swords Dance on your Ogre Pawn, but alas, it's not here for this. So, looks like Grant's considering going after the Rillaboom here. I do think that when your opponent has the Intimidate cycling advantage and a ton of bulk, it's good to just try and take KOs as soon as possible. But it's actually a Terastallization here from Grant. This Terra Fire is going to remove the Intimidate drop, but I don't know. I mean, it feels kind of risky here. You've already been intimidated. You're only going back to neutral. Yeah, I'm honestly kind of surprised to see this here, as there's also fake out pressure, right? You could end up just burning your Terra for without any real benefit yet. It's just going to be a fake out as well. So nice switch from Justin turn 1, putting him in this good position here, as knockoff is going to take, I think it's the Citrus Berry on the Rillaboom. Yeah, and maybe we'll see a U-turn here. That's what I would expect at least. Yeah, this is going to be a U-turn, bringing most likely back to Landers. This U-turn does an immense amount of damage. That's not even a critical hit. It did 60%, 65%.
Yeah, that's the problem with Roaring Moon. Not exactly the bulkiest Pokemon right here. We're probably going to see the Landers, as you mentioned before, probably just get another round of Intimidate.
Jeez.
So that Roaring Moon, and Roaring Moon's going to be at -2. Ogre Pawn is going to be at -1. But it's just, there's no offensive pressure against the Iron Hands. I don't see any immediate way to actually eliminate it. So you might have to retreat the Ogre Pawn here. You could maybe go out into your Urshifu, maybe get Tailwind up for Grant, which probably is like your best hope. At least the Roaring Moon is going to be faster. Most likely you want to assume than the Landers thanks to Speed Booster, so you should probably be able to get the Tailwind up, and then Urshifu with Surging Strike should be able to threaten quite a bit, but it is looking pretty tough right here.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think one thing I agree with this play though, that's not what I expected. I would have expected Urshifu to switch in here, but it's just going to be the Chen Pao here. So basically what Grant's saying is, all right, I'm giving up a lot of position here, and in exchange I expect to be able to basically try and win the game before Tailwind goes down. Tailwind's going to go up here. I would very much expect this to be a U-turn into the Roaring Moon. It is going to be a Stomping Tantrum actually into the Ogre Pawn slot. So Chen Pao is at risk of going down here, but it's actually Drain Punch. I actually think this is kind of the best case scenario for Grant. Roaring Moon, it's gone down, yes, but you've set up Tailwind, so you have maximum turns, and Landorus is already on the field. So you're like, all things considered, you're really not in that bad a position, especially because you can now bring Ogre Pawn back in, have the, what's it called, Embody aspect? Or
yeah,
Rage aspect? Which just seems to say in our sheets because it's the original Embody aspect. Here, yeah, we don't know what Justin's last Pokemon is here, but if it's the Ogre Pawn, there's nothing that really wants to take the Icicle Crash here. So I think actually, all things considered, this is kind of the best position he could hope to be in, Grant could hope to be in, given how the game has started out. And I think they have a real chance of turning this game around, even though it is worth noting they are significantly behind.
And correct me if I'm wrong, that wasn't the Ivy Cudgel that was locked in.
No,
it was the Grassy Glide.
This is Terra Water on the Iron Hand. So if Justin, like here, Grant's threatening a KO on both Pokemon with the Sword of Ruin here, but Unfortunate there.
That
really
does
unfortunate.
So much.
Yeah, that does so much. I think Crush can come out here, but I think that this might be a turning point in the match, as Landorus is going to get one shot here, but Grant had the ability to take both KOs here, and I think that would have put them in a position to seal up the game, as Drain Punch is going to take out the Chen Pao, taking away the very, very crucial Sword of Ruin ability. Yeah, I think Ivy Cudgel certainly would have picked up the KO there, as Iron Hands heals back to a significant amount of HP.
Yeah, and that Drain Punch healing is going to be pretty significant. Ivy Cudgel should probably still be able to knock out the Iron Hands at least, and Justin cannot cycle in Intimidate with Landers being gone, so definitely not over, but Justin does have Terra still available, so Ogerpon is actually going to be sent out for Justin, and because you do have Follow Me actually from Ogerpon, so you can redirect Grassy Glide here, so Urshifu could actually get some pretty big damage with Surging Strikes.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this turn's going to be pretty impactful here as... Oh, interesting. Oh, okay, this wasn't what I expected at all. I think one of the interesting dynamics of Urshifu is that it really encourages the opponent to not protect, because you could just end up wasting your move. I think this is a really kind of tricky situation. You're threatening Follow Me, which is really good into Grassy Glide. You're threatening Surging Strikes, which means that like Justin doesn't really want to protect here. It's really kind of tricky, but the thing is that Justin has Grassy Glide on the Ogerpon, so even with the speed advantage, it's not like you have to respect it, I think. So this is a really tricky move, tricky turn, and actually it's going to be the Terra here. I wonder who this is from. It could even be the Iron Hands in theory. Oh, it is the Ogerpon. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, so we'll be able to get a +1 attack right here. Let us see what Justin can really do with this. It does allow him to now resist the Ivy Cudgel on the Grand side, so that might be a big reason, but is now susceptible guaranteed to Urshifu's attacks right here. So you can even go for like Aqua Jet, Grassy Glide potentially the next turn, but
yeah.
Grassy Glide going to be fired off in Urshifu. No.
Great protect.
Yeah. Definitely, great protect. Let's see what happens here, but Ivy Cudgel will go out into, I believe it was the Ogerpon, so we'll probably do like 50%.
Oh my goodness, that Pokemon is so strong. And actually, a double attack into the Urshifu, I think that makes sense, right? Like, because you expect Urshifu to Surging Strikes there, then you figure, okay, well, like, this forces a Follow Me. If they don't follow me, I get it with Grassy Glide. Even if they do follow me, I should still probably take out the Ogerpon and be up, 2-1, but unfortunately there, it really backfires. It really, really backfires in a big way as, yeah, now the fact that you're a fire type means that Aqua Jet is extremely dangerous. But, okay, here's the thing. The switch out to the, like, I think Ogerpon wants to switch to Rillaboom here. And in that, like, is there anything you want to do to punish that? Like, is there any...
Yeah, you could go for Aqua Jet, KO to Ogerpon, and Ivy Cudgel knock out the Rillaboom. We actually see that the Urshifu on Grand side has bulk investment, so might actually be able to live a wall charge.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, that would actually be like really huge. We are also going to see the Rillaboom come in because it is able to take the water move, but also resets the grassy terrain, so Grassy Glide is now going to be priority once again, so that's actually going to be pretty huge in this match.
I was wondering if people would use Grassy Glide or Ogerpon, because it does seem like you'd have to run two grass types, which seems kind of risky. But we're seeing the value here. We're seeing, the power of Grassy Glide. Without Grassy Glide, Urshifu with Aqua Jet would just clean up this game. By the way, I think it's really funny that this game has revolved around both Terra, Fire, Ogerpon. Like, that's been the main Pokemon doing damage here. As great prediction there, Rillaboom goes down, and the question is, will Urshifu survive a Wild Charge here? And it actually goes down. I'm shocked. I'm really shocked by that. I think that if you think there's even a chance that you go down to Wild Charge, you should probably be making a different play there. That's my assessment. And now it comes down to whose Ogerpon is faster, right? Like, we don't know because it's only been in Tailwind. Wait, does it even matter?
So this is gonna be close. Let's see. Ogerpon is gonna come out for Justin. Both Pokemon I think are in range of Ivy Cudgel. Full health on the Grand side. This might come down to some speeds here,
but it's also Grassy Glide stuff, right?
Potentially. This is gonna be close. I don't actually know.
They both have Grassy Glide.
Yeah, they both have Grassy Glide.
Oh my goodness.
I don't know if I don't even know if Grassy Glide would even KO Justin's at this range. We saw how much Ivy Cudgel did, but Grassy Glide being that huge nerf since Generation 8.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with the damage calcs.
Yeah, 70 to 55. So, oh man, it could be tricky.
It's a tough call here, whether you want a Spiky Shield or whether you want an Ivy Cudgel.
The problem is, if you want a Spiky Shield, there is a chance that Swords Dance comes out.
Absolutely. Okay, it looks like Grant is the faster Ogerpon. So this is going to come down to a number of factors here. This should take out the Iron Hands. It does go down, so it's just the two most crucial Pokemon here, Ogerpon versus Ogerpon. Do you think Justin went for Swords Dance?
No, probably.
No, Ivy Cudgel.
You also get the crit chance,
You
too.
also get the crit chance. Let's see here. It's a 1 in 8 thanks to the heightened crit rate that this move for some reason has. 167 down to 60, James. That's with the Terra. That's with the... I guess that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I don't think Grassy Glide KOs either. I think they have to go for Ivy Cudgel. You could go for a Spiky Shield
You
if
go
you're
for the Spiky
Justin.
Shield. Actually, the pressure of Swords Dance is putting on here is actually pretty significant, in my opinion.
Yeah, because Grant can't play passive because there is that risk that Justin does read that and go for the Swords Dance.
Swords Dance into Grassy Glide would certainly win the game. It's Grassy Glide is enough. It's not 8 HP left. Spiky Shield would have been the difference maker here as Ivy Cudgel comes out, and it looks like Grant's going to be taking game 1. Wow, that was so down to the wire.
Yeah, and it looked like that Grant was actually in a pretty bad position for most of the game.
They really were.
When they got in that Xian Pao next to the Ogerpon under Tailwind, we saw how much damage it was able to apply. It could have actually gotten the double knockout. I think if it was a double knockout, I think that could have actually just been a game.
It would have been game over. I totally agree. Yeah, I think really the big turn there was the big kind of like where I think Justin made a mistake was he left his Landorus on the field. Like, I feel like if you have Landorus against a team with Ogerpon, it always needs to be in the back, because if you ever have it on the field when Ogerpon comes in, it's just gonna, like, against Terra and just take a KO. And I think not preserving the Landorus there was ultimately really, really dangerous because, yeah, it was able to just run away with the game. If there had been a single Intimidate there, once Roaring Moon went down, I think this whole game could have been different. But as it stood, yeah, basically Grant was able to get Ogerpon and Tailwind without the threat of Intimidate, take out the Landorus, and then just win the game from there. So I don't think this is a terrible matchup by any means for Justin. I think that it's totally possible for him to still win the set. But yeah, I think that Grant played really well and really picked his spot well there. Yeah,
let's see if he can take advantage and potentially just take the 2-0 over Justin. You don't want to play Game 3 if you can just take a 2-0, especially against someone like Justin, who has been able to claim 2 regional championships last season. So, should be pretty nice. This war with the Grassy Glides, though, is just a super interesting dynamic.
Absolutely.
Because you have both Ogerpons having the Grassy Glide. It makes it really tricky to use their water types like Iron Bundle and Urshifu, but what was huge for Grant was because of the Tailwind, and you got the damage earlier onto the Ogerpon, you could threaten the Aqua Jet before the Grassy Glide, and I think that was just a huge dynamic, because if that Ogerpon was just able to go for Grassy Glide and outspeed, just knock out the Urshifu, it's a completely different game.
It totally is. Also the fact that Grant had the faster Ogerpon, I mean, that ultimately is the deciding factor. If Justin had the faster one, maybe... Actually, I'm sure there that given the amount of health that they had left still, I'm sure Justin would have just chosen to go for Ivy Cudgel rather than feeling like they had to go for Grassy Glide. So that very well could have gone differently in a number of ways. I think my question right now is there going to be a Pokemon adjustment? I kind of want to see Goldengo up front given the Landorus was so good, and I would definitely expect it to be led here again. As it is Landorus who... Oh, same leads again. Same Pokemon. It might just be the same Pokemon here. This is the same as Game 1, right?
Yeah, so no Rillaboom lead. We're going to see the Roaring Moon and the Ogerpon. Same lead for Grant here. Going to be an interesting dynamic again. Both Pokemon are intimidated, so that's going to be really bad for Grant's damage output. You can go for a knockoff potentially. There is obviously the fake out pressure. We have seen that Justin did go for a switch Hardlanders actually last time to get a fake out. Maybe we'll see that again. Maybe we'll see... We could see a lot of different pivots here.
I feel like the thing here for me is that because you kind of last game went for the immediate switch out turn 1, I feel like if you're Justin, you can just attack here, go for a fake out, and go from there. I actually was considering this play, which is if you think that Iron Hands is not going for the fake out here, oh my goodness, this could be big. This is a very risky play from Grant. As Ogerpon switches in, this could be potentially the game. It could also be not that impactful at all. It really depends on, did Justin fake out the Ogerpon? Because without a fake out here, you probably are just fainting actually to the Ivy Cudgel, I think, if Ogerpon doesn't need the fake out.
Ooh, that's gonna be close. It is intimidated, but
it's gonna be close.
Yeah, it also depends because we saw that Grant had the faster one, so Justin might have a bit of a bulkier one instead of Train. So
I was thinking the last one did about 60%. It's no fake out here as knockoff. The damage might not look like a lot, but here it's actually a major deal because it actually allows Grant to just go for this Ivy Cudgel and pick up the KO on the Ogerpon. Just like in our top 8 set, Ogerpon fainting really early on into the game means potentially disaster for the fainting player.
Roaring Moon!
What? Why do you... What? You... What? What's the point? What's the point if you not a Drain Punch? It's not even that strong. I'm in disbelief.
Well, there is a reason why Roaring Moon was considered as Roaring Mid throughout the entire
one shot. I can't believe that. I didn't even think it was a chance that we get one shot.
I do think, based on the wild charge damage from the earlier game onto the Urshifu, with that Urshifu actually having a lot of HP investment, I do think that we're seeing a max attack Iron Hands.
Even
right
still,
here.
that's Drain Punch. It's not even that strong.
But right here, there is some hope for Justin, as he does have a Scarf Landorus into Grant's team, and no Tailwind was set up this time.
Right.
So this Landorus is actually going to be at outspeed. It's actually threatening the Ogerpon. Does threaten the Shi and Pao too. Rockslide would actually do a pretty big amount of damage right here, although probably don't want to go for that unless you're trying to go for flinches at this point. So does have some ray of hope for Justin here, because this Landorus and probably Real Boom I believe actually... Yeah, Justin does have Grassy Glide, so a combination of both actually can save him from this game.
Yeah, this game is not over by any means, especially with Landorus still being around. This is going to be a U-turn. That's a great play. You're really threatening a Stomping Tantrum here, so getting the U-turn off is a big deal here. The big question is with the last Pokemon, right? It could be Iron Bundle. It could be the Rillaboom, just like in the first game. And the last option is King Gambit. Probably not King Gambit here is my inclination. It is Rillaboom here. I don't think that Icicle Crash will pick up the KO here.
Yeah, especially with the Intimidate.
Especially with the Intimidate, yeah. And actually, Landorus, all of a sudden, assuming that the Iron Hands went after actually either Pokemon, yeah, this could totally. This is still very much could be Justin's game, but actually a critical hit from the Icicle Crash, KOing Rillaboom in one shot. That's a pretty big deal. That's a pretty big deal, James.
Yeah, that's a huge knockout. Probably didn't matter, I would imagine, for the most part, unless Justin is just not running a single bit of bulk on that Rillaboom, but. Yeah, that's a pretty big knockout. It's now down 2-2. There is the Landorus, but the problem is, I guess this is actually still not too bad if you're Justin. Yeah, because you do have Terra. Yeah. But the problem is, can you predict correctly on where you're going? Because if you Terra Blast into Urshifu goes for Protect, and you get a Ivy Cut Off into Landorus, could potentially put in range of the combination of Aqua Jet Grassy Glide.
Probably. I think it probably would, given Grassy Terrain is up.
Yeah, so this is not over by any means, but it's going to be a really tight end game.
It really is. Is there, do you know if Stomping Tantrum will KO Terrafire Ogerpon? I'm not actually familiar enough.
It depends on the investment, but if it's no bulk Ogerpon, it should. Ogerpon is kind of a weird bulk right here, where it's not actually the best in its defenses, but we are going to see the Landorus go for that Terra right here, which is probably what you need, because you don't want to just go down to Surging Strikes immediately.
Absolutely, yeah. We also did see that this Iron Hands can one-shot the Urshifu. Actually, this is an interesting play now that I think about it. It's going to be Terra Blast into I think this is the play that I would make if I were in Justin's spot. You know, it wasn't even the worst idea, I think, to go for something like Protective Spiky Shield and Protective both, scout the move, and then if they go for Stomping Tantrum, maybe go for like Grassy Glide and Surging Strikes into the Iron Hands. You know what I mean? Like that actually I think could have potentially won the game as well. So I think actually this was not over by any means. I think that it was still winnable for Grant, even with like from this endgame. I think there was a safer path forward here, but it is what it is. I mean, that's kind of how the cookie crumbles, and yeah, looks like we're going to a game 3.
Man, that game just swung back and forth. Like turn 1, it looked so bad for Justin, getting really caught on the switch. Ogerpon just fainting right there, and then we saw the crit into the Rillaboom from the -1 Icicle Crash, which was absolutely huge, but Justin able to pull it through with that Scarf Landorus. Again, not getting Tailwind up ended up being really hurtful for Grant.
Yeah, I think actually losing the Roaring Moon right away was a pretty massive deal, and in my opinion at least, just because like without the Tailwind advantage, the Scarf Landorus was putting on so much pressure, and Justin, credit to him, he had to make a lot of calls right. Like in front of the Ogerpon, he went for U-turn into the Chen Pao. In front of the Urshifu, he went for Terra, and Ogerpon, he went for Terra Blast. So he got multiple calls right with the Scarf Landorus, and part of the reason it wasn't such a factor in the first game is because Tailwind was up, and so Scarf Landorus really great when it's moving first, really vulnerable when it's not moving first because it can't protect itself. It doesn't have a defensive item like Assault Vest. So yeah, I think really the key here actually in both those games kind of was the Roaring Moon and the Tailwind. So I guess I'm curious, like I really don't feel like leading Ogerpon against like 4 physical attackers, like, it doesn't feel good to me, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But maybe that's what you have to do. I don't know. It's also this Iron Hands is a problem. Like, it hits Chen Pao, it OHKO's Chen Pao, it OHKO's Roaring Moon, and it OHKO's Urshifu. And so having a Pokemon that you can lead that you can't really be threatened after Intimidate, I don't know. It makes me a little nervous personally. I do think that Goldengo could come to this game and maybe just go for a trick on the Iron Hands and just say, like, all right, you're stuck. You're using one move, but you don't get multiple.
Yeah, it's just weird because Grant doesn't really have many defensive tools on this team.
Yeah.
Like, nothing slowing down at Iron Hands, which is able just to KO the Roaring Moon with Drain Punch, Wild Charge if it goes for Terra Flying. It's able to actually KO that Urshifu, which might be a roll, but even still, the fact that it can even potentially knock out is already scary. Goldengo would be pretty nice, but the problem with Goldengo is it doesn't really do much in the Iron Hands unless you trick it, really.
That's true, and if I don't think you can trick away the mask, right? So you could potentially end up just giving like a free Swords Dance positioning. So
yeah, so it's really, really tricky. Like both players definitely have the tools. Like Xian Pao was really strong for Gran offensively, or Shifu is of course really good. But we're going to see the lead here. Iron Hands Landers once again versus the Roaring Moon Ogerpon. So
I just realized this was like Despicable Me themed nicknames. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, I mean, same lead again, same situation. We've seen both times Justin has switched out turn 1. I don't know, like, it definitely can work, but I don't know. It's not like, it's obviously like, it's risky, right? Because, well, I mean, there's a safer play, right? What Justin can do here is he can fake out into the Ogerpon and go for a switch if that's what he wants to do, and like potentially get some ground that way. I think he could also make a really aggressive play and go for like fake out Stomping Tantrum into the Ogerpon and just say, I think you're tearing this game again.
Yeah, this is a really weird position. We could still see the Rillaboom pivot realistically, although I think that might be less likely for Justin because you don't want to get called out here once again.
Yeah.
So looks like we're going to opt for the double protect, but the hard lander switch.
Let's see who's coming in this time. Last game, it wasn't the Rillaboom last game, right? It was
it was the Ogerpon.
Yeah, this is kind of a nice middle ground play where you're resetting fake out pressure, which is nice, but on top of that, you aren't risking your Ogerpon, which, I mean, last game, Rillaboom switched in and just got one shot, so it obviously wasn't impactful. I guess that's true for both Pokemon, but I think if you're going to lose a Pokemon on this turn, you'd probably rather lose your Rillaboom than your Ogerpon, and yeah, this just covers this covers the play that was problematic last game, where fake out with 2 fake out users, you can do something like this, like switch in and fake out, and then yeah, with the protect now burnt, Roaring Moon no longer in like an amazing position.
Yeah, you can go for a fake out Drain Punch, KO the Roaring Moon potentially. You could go for a Wall Charge read. You could go for a Grassy Glide double up.
Oh.
There's a lot of potential options right here. I think if you're Justin, you actually have a lot of offensive pressure because his Iron Hands does extremely well here. The Rillaboom actually still in a really great spot, but do you want to deny Tailwind guaranteed? Because obviously if you're able to deny Tailwind, that's a huge component that Grant used for Game 1.
I feel like you don't need to worry that much about denying Tailwind because you still have Landers in the back this time, which is a big difference maker. We are going to see Roaring Moon actually switch into Chen Pao, potentially just taking a Drain Punch, which could be really bad. Also weakening the defense of the partner Ogerpon, which is, I mean, I think that's a significant increase, right? Fake out into the Ogerpon, Drain Punch and take Chen Pao down to 1 HP. I don't think this is going... I wouldn't say this is going spectacularly, personally, for Grant, but Roaring Moon still being alive is a pretty big deal and a big difference in this game and the last game.
Yeah, it's going to be tough, though, because now the Xian Pao is actually drawn to my Grassy Glide from both the Rillaboom on Justin's side, as well as, like, if Ogerpon is in the back for Justin, like we saw previously. It's not going to be able to accomplish super much in this game, so are you going to be able to do enough damage? I think the big part here is you have to get rid of Iron Hands, because Iron Hands is just pressuring so much damage throughout your team, and I kind of like this play where you're expecting the Grassy Glide probably into the Xian Pao, you're going to Roaring Moon to absorb the Grassy Glide, and then, of course, you keep your Xian Pao, you don't want the Sword of Ruin still active by protecting, because then like the Iron Hands would do a lot. Wild Charge could potentially pick up the knockouts, so scary position I think if you're Grand, especially like Justin could actually make a read here, like double up the Xian Pao slot if he really wants to.
That's very true, yeah. Although I don't think a double up with Xian Pao is super, it's like, that'd be really risky. I like this play a lot from Grant. Basically you're behind, but you're saying, all right, this is the turn where I want to step on the gas, I want to make a big play. If you're Justin, it's probably tempting just to go for a Grassy Glide into the Chen Pao and attack into the I'm actually really surprised by this play. Oh, Ogerpon switching in. Okay, Ogerpon switching in here for the Rillaboom. Preserving Fake Out. It seems like Justin really likes this cycling Pokemon, like Pokemon that like switching in and out. So, yeah, but here, Grant stepping on the gas. I think the question here is, Iron Hands probably went after the Ogerpon, right? Probably. That's my guess at least. But it didn't guarantee do it, and that's non-trivial.
Yeah, also hopefully a Drain Punch is not going into the
Roaring Moon. Yeah, that's true, and just delete it immediately. That would probably be game ending. Yeah, I mean, I guess the question here is what's Iron Hands doing, and does this crit? No crit.
A lot of damage though.
Lots of damage. Drain Punch into the Ogre Pond does a lot of damage, but that doesn't look like Terrafire or Grassy Glide range to me. So, all in all, I mean, the turn isn't terrible by any means.
Yeah, it's not a terrible turn. A Landorus can come in for Justin if he really wants to. Of course, like the thing is, like when you're playing against an Ogre Pond that's like faster than you, you're just always going to be risking the crit, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
So it might not even be worth it because if you switch, you lose momentum. So at this point, you might actually just want to try to go for damage and maybe just try to pick up a knockout if you can, or force the Ogre Pond to not attack.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that this position it's kind of tricky, right? Because Justin could switch into their own. You know, they could switch Landorus into Ogre Pond here, right? That's not a terrible play. I think the issue here is actually Grassy Glide. Having two Pokemon, like with Chien-Pao only like such low HP in the back, and frankly Roaring Moon just sitting here doing nothing. Like it kind of feels like it's going to be pretty tricky to find a way to stop Grassy Glide from just running over the game. Oh, Ogre Pond's the switch actually.
Is this a Landorus like you said before?
Yeah. Ooh, wow, Landorus coming in here.
A crit would be pretty devastating right now. A crit
would be definitely devastating. Although it depends on who was targeted, right? Because if Drain Punch goes into the Roaring Moon and it goes down, then that's fine. But if Wild Charge takes out Ogre Pond, then this whole game could swing on its head. Ivy Cudgel coming out here into the Landorus. This is what, -2, I think.
-1, I think, because of the +1.
Oh,
but
yeah, +3, yeah, or -3. Drain Punch into the Roaring Moon. This is gonna survive. It didn't survive.
Yeah, that Iron Hand's that has so much attacking power. Heals back to full, so
oh my God,
you kind of lost a lot of your momentum right here.
Yeah, I mean, listen, this position is not looking good to me. You got Tail 1 up, which is definitely a big deal. However, in exchange, you've burnt your Terra, you have Chien-Pao at 1 HP, and your Ogre Pond's -1. It's been intimidated, what do we say, 3 times? 3 times. And the Iron Hands is still at full HP.
Yeah, and this is going to be tough because if you go on Chien-Pao, you're threatened by Rock Slide because you have to double up the Iron Hands most likely in order to pick up a knockout.
Yeah,
I don't even know if you would pick up the knockout, even with the Sword of Ruin.
I honestly don't know. Without the Intimidate, I think you might if you go for Ivy Cudgel, but if they Terra, then that wouldn't work. I think what I'd like to see here is Chien-Pao coming in and then switching to Urshifu with the Ogre Pond. I think that's probably what I would go for, although then Rillaboom just comes in and you're kind of not in that much better shape, are you? So,
yeah, and there's Wild Charge too.
There's also Wild Charge, yeah. So, yeah, man. I mean, if Grant finds a way through this one, props to them. You know, the way out of this is actually the way out of this. By
critting.
Ivy Cudgel crit Ivy Cudgel crit the Iron Hands.
I actually don't even think it would KO because
with the Sword of Ruin.
Maybe.
Oh, you're right, because it's not even +1.
If it was +1, I'd say yeah, guaranteed for sure. But because it's neutral, it'd be super close. Maybe your end game here is to flinch the Iron Hands or
that's
crash.
A good play. That's a great play. I go for the flinch.
But if you protect right here, I don't know if you can really crash the Landorus.
They're thinking about it. I mean, listen, Grant doesn't have a good move here. If they find a way out of this one, they're.
I think they are going for either the double of an Iron Hands or they're going. I think they are going to rely on the flinch. And I agree with that.
I totally agree with that play here. Yeah. Oh, it is going to be a Terra here. This is probably going to be Terra Water from the Iron Hands. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. If Iron Hand survives this turn, which is very likely. I mean, like basically, if Iron Hands takes the KO on Ogre Pond and the last Pokemon is Urshifu, which we know is true, and if you're Justin is what you should assume, you basically win the game with Iron Hands. Then I do go Crush Connect, so that's the first check. There is now a 70% chance that I think Justin just wins the game on the spot. Ivy Cudgel coming out here into the Landorus, going to pick up the KO. Bonk. Landorus goes down here. 70% of the time, I think Justin is pretty much in game-winning, game-over position. 30% of the time, this Iron Hands will flinch, and we get to play the game some more. This game is no longer over. There's now a way back because, if Ogre Pond switches out and in again, all of the Pokemon on Justin's side get one-shot by Ogre Pond.
Yeah, that is true, and it is the faster Ogre Pond too, but the weird part is the Ogre Pond is actually heavily damaged, unlike Game 1 where it was actually healthy when it was facing multiple Pokemon, so it's a really complicated endgame because even still, the fact that you could get caught on the switches is not exactly amazing, so going to be tricky. You might want to go into your own Ogerpon if you're Justin, but you might want to dress into Grassy Glide, maybe into the Urshifu switch, or just into Xianbao. It's a tricky spot, but Rillaboom is going to come in and reset that grassy terrain.
Yeah, I think I agree with this play personally. I think you need to get grassy terrain up, I think, in order to win this game. Yeah, man, this is gonna come down to the wire. Honestly, great Icicle Crash play. Like one of the skills of a good Pokemon player is being able to identify when you need a little luck to win the game, and I think that was the exact truth for Grant there. 2 turns of Tailwind left. Tailwind is kind of irrelevant at this point. The only interaction it matters for is Grant's Urshifu against the Ogerpon. Oh, wait, what's going on here? Hang on a second. You see what I'm seeing?
Yeah, potential switch, which I actually kind of understand the logic if he switches out to Xianbao, because...
What if you take the Grassy Glide, though? Like, you can just forget about Fake Out, you can just Grassy Glide.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Oh, no, okay. Oh, no, we're running out of time here. 5 seconds. Grant needs to make a move here.
Okay.
This is the play I would make.
Yep.
This is the play I would make. I think in some ways you actually want your...
Xianbao still alive?
I was going to say you want your Urshifu to go down.
Yeah.
both true. I wonder here. This is going to be so down to the wire. I cannot stress enough how close this is going to be. Grassy Glide comes out. I agree with that play from Justin. Nice play.
This should be the wall charge, but if it's Drain Punch...
Could be Drain Punch. Should be Wild Charge, right?
Oh.
It is Drain Punch, actually. Huh.
I guess both Pokemon are now in Grassy Glide range, but you can only pick one, so a little bit of a weird position, I guess, if you're Grant.
Man, this is like actually because you're right. Because the Ogerpon is so damaged, this is not really. This is still very much not over. Do you think that Sucker Punch plus Close Combat would KO the Ogerpon, or sorry, the Rillaboom here? I don't think so, right? It's Citrus Berry Rillaboom.
I think if the Sucker Punch does under 50%, which I could see,
I think it will
then
do
it
under
could.
50, yeah.
I think, yeah, it definitely could. So I don't think it would KO the Iron Hands, though.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, that is a really aggressive play.
Incredibly risky. Okay, they're considering it. Yeah, Grant, again, it's like trying to find your way through a minefield here.
Yeah, one wrong turn, and it's game over.
Yeah, and they're running out of time here as we do see a switch and a Protect here. This could be the turn where Justin wins the game, for sure. Yeah, this could just be the turn.
Let's see if it's a Grassy Glide in that slot, because if it's not the Grassy Glide, if it went into the Urshifu slot and the Drain Punch went into...
that would probably just seal it up as well. The Grassy Glide's putting on so much pressure. Oh, it's a switch, actually.
Into Ogerpon.
I wonder if they predicted the Close Combat plus Sucker Punch play, or if it was something else.
It would have been interesting, because Ogerpon still went down to Close Combat. I think that actually would have actually screwed over Justin if that was.
Yeah, Sucker... Oh, yeah, because there was Sword of Ruin.
Yeah.
It is Drain Punch, but it's into the Urshifu, actually, so it does survive the turn. Oh, man, this is so close. Is there one turn of Tailwind left still? Or is that... I think this might be... I think Tailwind ends this turn. Tailwind ends this turn. Oh, my goodness. Yeah. So now, the question is... I don't even know. Like, you can Grassy Glide the Iron Hands for the KO, but then Justin can switch back into the Rillaboom. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Ogerpon is kind of in a weird spot because it can threaten the Grassy Glide KO on the Urshifu. It can try to get maybe like a Swords Dance up or like chip away at the Ogerpon for maybe like a double Grassy Glide follow-up. It's a really complicated endgame. You have to get this turn right of Iron Hands right here. I think you have to target probably the Iron Hand slot. You could go for Ivy Cudgel, I guess, into Ogerpon. There is a chance you could go for like Grassy Glide, Drain Punch, also double up into Ogerpon, and if you get that right, if you catch Ivy Cudgel, you'd win the game. But this is...
Oh boy. Okay, this is the crucial turn. I think like... The other thing is that Grassy Terrain will eventually end, and that could change things a lot. I don't love sacking Chen Pao here, or planning on sacking Chen Pao here personally. But the question is did Justin switch? They did not switch. Grassy Glide coming out here, taking out the Iron Hands in one hit. I don't know if the Sword of Ruin was necessary. I don't think it was for that, but I mean, you're not complaining about it by any means. Iron Hands going down here, but the thing is that Sword of Ruin is now active. What did Justin go for here? Grassy Glide of their own. It is going to take out the Chen Pao here. And all of a sudden, it's a 2 against 2, but Grant still has their Terrafire Ogerpon alive and healthy.
Yeah, fantastic play right here. This is actually going to still be, even though like Grant has gotten to this turn right, it's still not over because the Rillaboom does have fake out pressure. If you're able to catch something right, could be either Grassy Glide KO or a Swords Dance. This is still, even with all this, it's still not over. But on the bright side, at least, for Grant, Justin already used his Terra on the Iron Hands, so you can't Terra Fire to resist the Ivy Cudgel anymore. So you can actually just pick up the knockouts.
I'm actually really surprised by this play. Okay, they're backing out of it. You have the option of going for Spiky Shield here. Oh man, this is going to be close. And actually, Grant is running out of time here. They only have 40 seconds left. If they don't finish this game by the time their time hits 0, they will lose regardless. So yeah, this is actually going to be interesting here. It is going to be fake out. Yeah, I'm really surprised to see this play from Justin personally. This could actually turn this whole game around, in my opinion. Swords Dance comes out here. Oh my goodness. Oh, and actually, Grant, it's really, I think, a race against the time now because Surging Strikes can do a ton of damage. Could have been a close combo, would have been slightly stronger. Just nitpicking a little bit. Because now a Protect from both Pokemon will result. Oh my goodness. A Protect from both Pokemon will result in the end of Grassy Terrain. I think Close Combat might have KO'd there, actually, with the 5 power difference or whatever it is.
Oh, how many turns of Grassy Terrain left?
One left after this. So the question is, can Grant win this game before the timer hits 0?
Yeah, going to go for Spiky Shield. Looks like you are right. Stop.
No. Okay, they're just double checking.
Stop.
I don't know if Grant's aware of. They seem to be somewhat aware of their time. Yeah. Here's the weakness of Grassy Glide. Not that it's a huge weakness, but the fact of the matter is, once this Grassy Terrain ends on this next turn, there's no more priority from Grassy Terrain. So once Grassy Terrain goes down, Urshifu's Aqua Jet, which at this turn would have been outsped by the Grassy Glide from the Ogerpon, is now back as being the fastest attack on the field. Grassy Glide comes out into the Ogerpon. Is that a contact move, James?
It is, yes.
Oh, wow. I guess it doesn't really matter. It didn't go down, but yeah, double Grassy Glide here. Also into the Ogerpon. Also doesn't matter here. The only question is, yeah, I guess it's not really a question anymore, actually, because Aqua Jet will KO the Ogerpon from this range. I think it would have KO'd even without the Spiky Shield chip, most likely.
Yeah, you should be completely safe if you're Grant. We've seen the faster Ogerpon. That Surging Strikes was taken really well, so that Ogerpon on Justin's side should be bulky. You just get a free Ivy Cudgel to the Rillaboom that can't protect. You Aqua Jet the Ogerpon, and even if Ogerpon somehow loses Aqua Jet, which it really shouldn't,
you'd still take out the Rillaboom, and yeah, you have both your Pokemon faster. Aqua Jet coming out here. It's going to take out the Ogerpon. That's going to be the end of Ogerpon, and honestly, remarkably played from Grant. It was looking so bad. The matchup, in my opinion, looked horrible. The early game looked bad. Game 2 was not even though Grant got such a good early turns. These are our chairs. Thank you to our chairs. Even though Grant got such a good early start in game 2, still ended up losing. Honestly, that was a pretty remarkable win from Grant, in my opinion. I really.
How are you doing, Grant?
What's going on?
Congratulations in your win in top 4. How you feeling?
I feel really good. I feel a little bit bad to Tang because I know I did flinch him, but from that point on, I knew that was my one-win con. I went through every single turn, and thankfully, I got every single call right because I know if there was at least one mistake, that would have just cost me the game.
That's exactly what we said as well. After the match, that we said exactly that. So, yeah. How'd you feel after game 2? I feel like that was with getting that early turn right, KOing the Ogerpon right from the start. That had to feel pretty good. Also, were you surprised that the Iron Hands KO'd all your Pokemon? Because the Roaring Moon got one shot, the Urshifu got one shot. I was really surprised personally.
Honestly, the last set, I actually played Tang in Swiss.
Okay.
And for the majority of that set, I wasn't able to get into those positions where I got the one-hit knockouts, or I had the chance to. So, with the glide onto the Iron Hands, I actually had, zero idea as to, whether that would KO or not, but I was banking on it.
Yeah.
And, of course, it picked up.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. Seems like Grassy Glide played a really big role in that set. I feel like with 3 users in the game, that was pretty big. How do you feel about Grassy Glide versus, Horn Leech on Ogerpon?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
Yeah, sorry. You ran Grassy Glide on your Ogerpon. How do you feel like that compares to something like Horn Leech, which we saw in an earlier set?
So, Grassy Glide is actually pretty important on this team. I think Horn Leech is good as a move. It allows Ogerpon to have a lot more sustain and just keep it up. But in a lot of my sets, I've been relying on my Roaring Moon, which has the booster energy. And in a lot of my Tailwind matchups or matchups where they have opposing priority, having that Grassy Glide, it pretty much enables me to just shut down certain slots. I believe during my match with Mezzi, in my, Swiss round, 13, I was able to swap into my Rillaboom, which he didn't suspect, and go for a Terra Grassy Glide to pick up the KO.
Got it. That's really cool. Yeah, that's really cool. It was really cool to see it do work. I got to commend you for your play. It looked both games 1 and games 3 looked really difficult. Like, it seems like you were in really tough spots, but you found a way to like use Tailwind up, get Tailwind up at the right time, and make the right sacrifices and plays and turn it around. So I mean, yeah, I think that was a really really well played set, and you should feel really proud.
Yeah. So, how did you feel about bringing Roaring Moon over like a prankster Tailwind Mon like we've seen like Tornadus, sometimes maybe Illumise or Volbeat, but you decided to end up bringing Roaring Moon instead with the booster speed energy, I believe. So how do you feel like that has impacted like matchups that you would normally encounter?
So I never initially considered using another, I guess, like fast Tailwind setter like Tornadus, primarily because Roaring Moon, its typing, for the most part, while you do see in like most of my sets, or at least in most of my sets, I've been constantly like hit by Drain Punch by Iron Hands, and most matches just come down to letting it sit on the field and then doubling it up to take it down. But having, I guess, that typing plus the knockoff for, I guess, Sparaghost types, and just being able to tank hits, essentially like on the switch in, on lead, has been really, really helpful to my run.
That makes sense. I think Dragon typing is nice right now as well because of the Ogre Pawn, so it makes sense that Dragon typing would be good for you. Cool. Well, I think that's all from us. We're going to get ready for our other top 4 set. But yeah, best of luck in finals, and congratulations again.
Thanks, man.
Awesome.